but it doesn't annoy me one single bit to have a group of people walk past and then stop and be like, hey, can I get a picture? Can you sign this poster? It's like, the reality is, if it weren't for those people, like, those people are literally the people that bought my record, bought a ticket to my show, streamed my music. They're the reason that I get to pay my rent and, like, afford the life that I live with my family. So, like, dude, if that means that I can take 2 seconds to say hey and take a picture, that's nothing. There's always something else to do. Didn't see it then.
Welcome to the Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode, we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is episode 169, and our guest is Drayton Farley. Drayton is a singer and songwriter from Alabama whose most recent record, 20 on High, continues to be a favorite of Marinators everywhere. 20 on High was produced by Marinade guest Sadler Vaden, who of course plays guitar in Jason Isbell's 400 unit most famously and has done some incredible production work in the last few years. Alabama native Farley cut his teeth playing open mics while working on the railroad and went on to become one of the favorite songwriters of your favorite songwriters. We caught up with Drayton at Laurel Cove Festival just outside of Pineville, Kentucky, for a conversation about his connection to fans, the production touch of Sadler Vaden, the importance of familial support, and so much more. Y'all, before we get into this conversation with Drayton, I just want to say thank you to everybody at Laurel Cove. Thanks for having us out this year. The festival has earned a kind of legend in recent years, a launch pad of sorts for careers. It is one of the coolest festivals I've ever attended, and I'm really hoping to get back next year as well. It's amazing how many people I've connected with on the internet who were there that I didn't actually get to meet. And so I'm really excited to go back next year and really make a point to connect with folks who I didn't get a chance to connect with this time. But really special place, y'all. If you get a chance to go to Laurel Cove, those tickets sell fast, so keep an eye on sales, and when that happens, make sure that you jump on it and make plans. It's definitely worth your time. All right, everyone, it's time for my conversation with Drayton Farley. Do we sound good?
Yes. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound great.
Great.
I sound great.
Here we are.
Buddy, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, man.
Man, 20 on High, like, this is really fun for a lot of reasons, but one of them is, like, that was one of my favorite records of last year.
Thanks.
And I think, I don't, like, I have a pretty good pulse on our listeners and their favorite records. And there were several folks last year that are big fans of our show, of the Marinade, who, for them, that was the best record of the year.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll definitely take it.
Well, it's outstanding, man. And there's some things that come out in the record that I'm curious about. And one of them is at the forefront of my mind right now because we're at the Laurel Cove Festival in Kentucky, in eastern Kentucky. I'm here in part on kind of like a personal journey and a pilgrimage because I'm from this area, sort of, close by,
Right.
But I read an interview with you where you mentioned eastern Kentucky as like a special place to you.
Oh, yeah.
Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of keep it to the point, starting to play shows, like years back when I first started gigging and stuff. The only thing that I could, that there is around Alabama, which is where I'm from, like central Alabama, it's just like really hard to get like a foot in the door of the world of music to where you could, book enough gigs that it made sense to call it a profession without playing the same like 3 bars over and over and over, and two, like there's just I love Alabama and I hate to even, I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying something negative here about my home state. It's absolutely my favorite place in the world, but there doesn't really seem to be a super supportive community for like independent artists. Not that I've seen, at least, and that might not be true in South Alabama, where I'm literally just not sure. But like friends of mine, like the Red Clay Strays and Muscadine Bloodline, like they're all from deep South Alabama, and but it seems like it took me, I guess, to get to the point. It seems like it took me getting away from that place and going somewhere else before I found a community of people that like recognized what I was doing and appreciated it. So for me, that community ended up being, the folks up north in Kentucky, and notably like, Laurel Cove and everyone that's involved with this festival, John Grace, and, playing shows, the Middlesboro Fall Festival, and playing Laurel Cove and playing shows at Bell Theater. It was just, it was kind of like my first step into this territory or this part of the country. Everyone just immediately let me know that they appreciated what I was doing and that they were like backing me 100%. They were fans, and those fans, when they were strangers at first, well, they turned into like long-term friends, and there's a lot of people up here now that kind of welcomed me with open arms and supported me and gave me gigs on festivals and for other bigger bands that were playing in the area, gave me the opening slot. And so like I absolutely recognize the people up in Kentucky to be some of my first like real supporters, outside of like close friends and family and some folks back down in Alabama that have been there since day one and always supported me. But Kentucky and the people in Kentucky have absolutely, to me, in my opinion, they were kind of the first people that like just took to what I was doing and let me know that I shouldn't stop and that it was, worth pursuing because when I was first coming up here, I still had a day job. Like I wasn't like a professional touring musician full time, and so yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of my early roots with the people in Kentucky. They just part of the fabric that ultimately I have now that I'm living on. It was largely due to them is why I was able to kind of maybe get the confidence to like go play shows outside of Alabama and Kentucky and bet on myself to actually like try to tour. And so all these people, and we're at Laurel Cove, so when I say all these people, I mean everyone involved with Laurel Cove is they're like family to me, man. Like they've truly just been there for me, and they let you know that they got your back, and then they prove it to you, and then it's kind of hard to argue any of it, really.
I love that. We're sitting in your car at Laurel Cove, and folks are walking by, and there was a big kind of rush of people there for a second, and they were doing a double take. Like they saw you, and they were doing double takes. And as I pulled up, dude, I couldn't fucking figure out where to go and what to do. Like I was a mess coming in here.
Yeah.
But I saw you standing like right over here, shaking hands, taking pictures.
Yeah.
Later on, I was over by the sort of pavilion where the artists and media and staff are situated, where we just were, and same thing. You were taking pictures, shaking hands. You mentioned fans as friends. You seem very comfortable, like very in your element.
Oh, yeah, man.
In that moment.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the reality is like, a lot of these people are literally just friends that we haven't seen each other in a year.
Right.
So it's like, let's get a picture, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
been so long.
Yeah.
And then a lot of these people, like, I don't know their first or last names, and they're just fans of what I do. And this is a place where artists and fans alike can kind of live in close proximity to each other, and everyone respects everyone, but it doesn't annoy me one single bit to have a group of people walk past and then stop and be like, hey, can I get a picture? Can you sign this poster? It's like, the reality is, if it weren't for those people, like, those people are literally the people that bought my record, bought a ticket to my show, streamed my music. They're the reason that I get to pay my rent and like afford the life that I live with my family. So like, dude, if that means that I can take 2 seconds to say hey and take a picture. That's nothing, you know.
Well, so kind of a piggyback question on that then is that's fairly extroverted behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Your songs, as I interpret them, and songwriting in general, oftentimes is more an introvert's world.
Yeah.
Where do you live in that spectrum?
Man, I don't know. I don't know the right answer to that question, but I think that songwriting for me has long been a way for me to like express my inner thoughts, my deepest thoughts, and the way that I think on a deeper level about all things in life. As far as me personally, like if you met me, like I would say I'm a more outgoing person. Like I'm not skittish of anyone. Like I'll absolutely have a conversation with anybody. I'm not trying to run and hide from anybody, anything like that. But sometimes, like maybe, you know, and I don't know, I'm still kind of figuring myself out, you know. It's like it's a constant journey, like, and I hope I never do figure myself out. But I think that I discovered the passion for writing songs because songwriting was a way for me to offer those like deeper levels of me to whoever might care to listen, even myself sometimes, you know. Like sometimes I'll write a song or have a verse or a line, a chorus, whatever it is. I'll start writing and I'll learn something new about me from that, something otherwise that I don't know what else could possibly bring that out of me except for songwriting. So I know a lot of my songs are like kind of deep thought thinking, you know, lyrical content, and I think that helps me balance out like my existence. Like, you know, it keeps the scale for me balanced. If I can make my art using like the deeper wells that I have inside of me, with, you know, what I'm passionate about, what I care about, or what troubles me, if I can express those things through my songs, then that allows me a lighter load in my everyday life. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
It's kind of hard to articulate the point, but hopefully that makes sense.
I think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think about something like Something Wrong, like that song, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Which, by the way, thank you for that song. It's like I think that's one of those that makes you feel less alone.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, some songs, like, not every song is, none of these songs come from the same place. Like, every song has its own roots and has its own meaning, and sometimes a song is as simple as, I had this thought and I had this line and I liked it, and so I built an entire song around it, and and I did my best to carve a statue that makes sense. And sometimes I feel like I have a whole lot to say, you know, and it's very easy to carve that statue out. So like with Something Wrong, I'll tell you, like I left the gym one day. I'd just gotten like a gym membership, and I'm not like a gym guy, by the way. I haven't been to the gym now in months, but like I was leaving the gym and I was headed back home. It was a beautiful day. Things were going great. Like my life I had no real problems. Like my entire family was super healthy. I was healthy. Things were looking great for music. Like things were looking up, getting lots of great gigs. You know, people are still listening to what I'm doing, and I'm at home for a few weeks with my family. It's a beautiful fucking day outside, and like for whatever reason, like I was just in a funk. Like I was just so down about everything, and I'm literally driving home, sun shining, like it's a great day, and like for whatever reason I just couldn't shake like this depression, and I went home and wrote that song.
How much is that? And again, I think the song is so. Sometimes when we talk a lot about mental health on this show, but one of the things that I sometimes have a hard time with, and I never want to give anybody shit about writing a song about mental health, because thank you anybody who's writing a song about mental health,
anyone
right?
that's willing to talk about it, you know?
Right. But there are some that get it, in my mind, right to the way that I feel it, right? And then some that don't seem to quite hit the mark.
Yeah.
Because it's such a personal thing. That one seems like, for me at least, and I bet folks listening would agree, that one seems to totally hit the mark. And I wonder how much, like, as you were writing it, how much editing went into that song. Was it something that just sort of came out? And then just generally, how much editing do you end up doing?
In general, like, I'm the worst editor ever. So typically, like, I really don't edit. Like, and that's a bad thing probably, but also, like, I don't care. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do this. This is art, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can't paint a picture the wrong fucking way.
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, that's impossible to do, and you can't write a song the wrong way.
Right.
So it's like, and then when the people that realize that do create art, I feel like are the people that usually create the most impactful art, because it's like there's no holdback here. It's just whatever I interpreted this to be, and that is the human part of you. And when you let the human be the human, well, then the other humans that listen to it go, hey, damn, he's talking about what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Well, it's because we're all the same. We all have the same fucking problems. And so, like, the less, to me, like, in my personal case, and some people I know a lot. I have a lot of friends that are songwriters that they edit quite a lot. You know, it's like whatever. There's no rules. But for me, it's you know, I'm bad about if it doesn't feel right somewhere around the beginning of writing it, then I just say fuck it and throw it out. You know?
Really?
Yeah, mostly. And there's sometimes I'll have a line that I'm like, that's so good that I that's saved in a note somewhere in my phone. It's in the iCloud somewhere in the cloud, and I'll have to download it the next time I get Wi-Fi. I'll find that one liner that I put down. But a lot of times, yeah, it's like, which is like self-sabotaging probably sometimes for me, because you know, it's not every day that, and I try to write every day, but it's not every day that I write something that I think is worth a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like some days that does happen, and those are I can't even articulate. I don't know how to use words to describe what that feeling is whenever I can sit down and the song just pours out of me, and it's like the universe did that. I didn't do that. Like, it just happened, and I think that it's good enough that it is what it is, and here it is. And then sometimes, you know, there's some songs. I'll tell you, there's a new song that I just recorded that's not a new song at all, and I wrote it 10 years ago, and I lost the relationship with that song. Like, it just didn't mean anything to me, exactly. And I questioned it a lot, and I did try to edit that song a lot. And the more I tried to make it better, like, the less I liked the song, and the less I was interested in the song, and the less I felt connected to it. And then a month ago, in the studio, like, somehow all 10 years passed. I wrote it when I'm 28 now. I wrote that song at 18.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, like, this song makes sense for me again. And just the way I originally wrote it, it makes sense for me. And so I brought it back. And no one, you know, I haven't ever played it. I remember when I was 18, I think I played, like, a thing at my high school one day, and I played that song there. But outside of that, I'm not sure that I've ever really performed the song. So, like, when it does come out and people hear it, you know, it'll be a brand new song to them. But this is something I've lived with for 10 years. Like, 10 years, this thing is set and collected dust until the point where it made sense for me to reconnect with it. And so, yeah, man, I don't know how far away I am from the original question now, but
that's the beauty of that's what we do here.
I guess
that's so. Wait, what did? But I want to explore that a little bit. Like, what is somebody showing off there? Drayton Farley hat.
Flashing hats and shirts.
What is why did that? 10 years you weren't so sure about it. What do you think sparked that? What can we explore that a little bit?
I think that this song that I'm talking about specifically, I felt like I wrote it at a time before I was taking this serious at all, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it felt like it just, it felt like half-assed. It felt, I felt like I was writing to an audience, which is something I don't do. Like, I don't write songs to cater to a specific, you know, set of people. So this song, coming from, like, I wasn't writing songs at 13, man. Like, I didn't do that. That's just not, that's not my story.
Yeah.
And so I was like senior in high school when I started writing songs. And so this song was, you know, like probably 6 months after I graduated. I'm 18, you know, so I'm pretty new to, like, writing songs. And there was couple years, like, after that I didn't really take it very serious anyways, and I just ended up, I got a job on the railroad, and, like, I would play open mics when we traveled for work in random cities and stuff, but, like, I wasn't really like pursuing like the craft of songwriting or even pursuing a career in music at all. So that song just like kind of just, it was just like something left in my baggage from my youth, I guess, you know. And then like one day you open that suitcase up and you find that song, and you're like, oh, thing's been laying around here for a while. And you know, and I was talking to my wife, and I was like, what do you think? Because we've been together since high school. And she's, you know, we were together when I wrote that song, and so she remembers it, and she remembers me playing it around the house, and she remembers when I wrote it and all this stuff. And when I was going into the studio, she told me, she was like, I really feel like you should cut that song. And I was like, I don't know, I don't think so. And we get in the studio, and we got down to the last two songs. Well, we got down to the last song, but there were two options there. And so I played the option A, which was not the song we're talking about, because I didn't want this song from 10 years ago.
You're really trying to fight that one off, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I was really trying to deny the song.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, I showed it to all my guys. So Sadler Vaden produced my next record.
Awesome.
And my band is the band that recorded in the studio with me on this record, and none of them were familiar with the songs. Like, we went into the studio and I showed them the song in the studio. Then we make, you know, the recording and put the music to it and go through those motions. But so they're not familiar with it at all. Play them the song that I originally wanted to have as the last final song of this album. And Sadler remembered the other song, the one from 10 years ago. And he was like, man, there was another song. I was like, dude, that's not it, man. I was like, I just don't feel it anymore, you know? It's just not, I just want to bury that song and just never hear it again, never talk about it again. And he was like, well, could you just play it for us? And we're all in the control room. It's me and the boys and Sadler and Bobby Holland, the engineer. And I played the song, and everyone was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, we have to fucking cut this song. And then, you know, I hear my wife's voice in my head. And I hear her, like, asking me, please, like, include this song. And so I did, man. We fucking put the music to it, and yeah, I think it's going to be possibly the first single on the new album.
Man, that's wild. That's wild, yeah.
Yeah, these things, like, some of these things take a lot of time. And some of these things just fall out of the fucking air. And there's no one, I don't think there's any real thing that determines which ones get to come out of thin air and which ones take 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a skill. And I don't want there to be a skill, because that's art. And like, there are no rules. So, yeah, I don't even know if we're on the same topic as the question. But
yeah, well, I don't know if we are either, but that doesn't matter because you brought up.
I will ramble, by the way.
Thank you, because you're giving me so much gold. Because you said something that I want to talk about that I wasn't really aware of, which is I'm always interested in origin stories, especially for creatives, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of glossed over what sounds like an incredibly romantic period of your life, where you're not, in your words, not taking songwriting seriously at the time, but you're on the railroad and then you're playing open mics. Like, are you working?
Yeah.
Like, you're traveling from town to town on the railroad?
Yeah,
Can you talk about
exactly.
That?
Yeah. So like that job was like, basically I was a subcontractor for Norfolk Southern Railroad, and for like 3.5, 4 years I had this job, and basically every week, like, we pretty much worked all through the southeast of the country. Like, basically like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, some in Tennessee, the Carolinas, Georgia kind of area. Yeah. So, and we were just doing like, we do derailment cleanup, like disaster cleanups, what they called it. But it was when a train derails, like, we would bring in like equipment and like help the railroad guys, like, get the cars off the track, get the engines moved with cranes, and then, like, grade out the old railroad bed and like help them set in the new rail and get everything back to running trains. Yeah. So we did that, and then we would assist them with like switch changes, like track switches. We would like help them change, cut the rail on an old switch, get it out of the bed, replace that with a new switch from start to finish. And so that job, like, we were all through the southeast doing that. So like one week I could be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I might be working in New Orleans, and then Thursday and Friday I'm working in Atlanta, and then next week I could be in North Carolina all week, and then blah blah blah. Yeah. So I was always like kind of bouncing around the whole southeast every week with this job, and what I would do is like I pretty much know my schedule like a week in advance. So I would get on like Facebook and Craigslist and like Google, and I would just find any city I would be in. Like if we're gonna be in Raleigh, or if we're gonna be in New Orleans or Atlanta or whatever, I would find whatever open mics were there and what day they'd be there, and if I was gonna be in town the same night as this open mic, then I would get off work, get back to the hotel room, take a shower, grab my guitar, and go to whatever the bar was or whatever the venue was that had this open mic, and I'd sign up and play a song.
Yeah.
No one knows who I am, and it didn't matter if it sucked,
So how was that? How helpful was that, do you think, in your career and in sort of your development? Is that something that if you had it to do over again, you would have gone that route again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. At the time, I wasn't looking at it as like career development, but like at the time, I was just like kind of getting used to handling nerves, and I was really interested to see how people would react to like what I'd written.
Yeah.
And it was, looking back, I realized that playing open mics was a great way to like get used to singing into a microphone, or get used to making sure the tuner pedal's on before you plug your guitar in, or just singing in front of people in general, like, and just performing. Like, those are, pretty formative things that help in the long run, And then, the open mic thing graduated to like playing 3-hour-long, 4-hour-long bar gigs, like in the corner where there's 10 people here all night, and 3 of them maybe give a fuck.
Is that like cover gigs, or is that like,
of course, man. Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite artists don't even have 4 hours worth of music. So it's like, true, I'm playing like everything Sturgill ever wrote, everything Tyler wrote, everything Isbell wrote, everything like Mercury wrote, and then like the 30 songs I had. And I'm trying to like create like some form of a set list, and also like every now and then, unfortunately, like throw some free fall in there so I can catch people's attention. It's like but yeah, so that was kind of the open mic thing. Was I was traveling anyway, and I might as well bring my guitar on the road with me, and music was always the thing I wanted to do, but it's such a pipe dream to like think that you can be a successful artist.
Right.
It's not,
Yeah, so at what point did you go, because now you're there, right? Like, and I'm sure you don't want to say I'm there, because
I don't. I mean, there's levels to everything,
Sure.
and success isn't a place you reach. It's just a thing that you can experience over and over again in life. At many different levels. So like, I mean, have I made it? I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck that means. But like, this is my job, and I do pay all of my bills off of music. So like, in my head, I've definitely made it, man. Like, this is what I always wanted, and I have it, and it comes with its own list of struggles itself. It's not easy to do this, especially when like I have a wife and 2 kids, man. I'm gone all the time. Like, that sucks. I quit the railroad job because I was gone all the time. Quit that job and went back home so I could be with my wife, and I got another job working for Mercedes-Benz, and I did that, and literally just because I was gone all the time. Every week I was gone, and now here I am, gone all the time again. But this time it's different, because this time it's for us, and like, I own this, and like, this is what I was meant to do. Like, this is the thing that I can do best for my family, for myself, for my friends. Like, this is the me it's the best me that I can possibly be. There's no way I could go work on the railroad and be the best version of myself that I can be. I just can't. It's not possible. So, I mean, I guess now, what was the point? I guess was the question. What was the point that I made it?
That you kind of like went, at what point did you go, this feels like it is my sustainable full-time job? Because I think that's something that we explore on this show a lot, is like, how do you know when to quit the railroad, for example?
I'll be honest, like, in my experience, you don't know. You don't know. You have to like, well, I know how hard I worked for other people. Like, I've always been like when I worked for other companies, I've had several different jobs, but only a few that were like long-term employments. But no matter what, like, I just have a really strong work ethic. Like, I was, I'm not the guy that's calling out of work every day. I'm showing up on time, and I'm doing everything that's being asked of me and some. So like, that's just part of me. That's just for whatever, some people aren't that way, some people are that way. It doesn't matter, but that's how I work. Like, if there's a job, like I'll do the job and I'll do what's asked of me, and just a strong work ethic. So I know I have that. I definitely have that, and I also have a burning passion for the music. So, but you need validation. Without that, there's no chance you're gonna have the guts to do it, because you need some signal that like this is even feasible. And fortunately for me, like, I had great support from my wife, from like my parents and my siblings and friends, and the literal tipping point for me was when I put out my song American Dream. And my wife was like, you should get TikTok and start posting videos on TikTok. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And she was like, well, just make an account and just like post some stuff and just see what happens. She was like, I see people blowing up all the time on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like, I'm not trying to be the internet guy. Like, I want, if my music ends up being discovered on a large scale, I want my heroes to respect what I've done or what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And maybe that's prideful, but that's where I was. Literally exactly where I was in my head. I'm like, dude, if you name it, like if James McMurtry hears this, like, I would hope that he would take me serious and be like, recognize like another songwriter that's, good at what they're doing, or at least isn't like just trying to be the next internet guy, So anyway, I listened to my wife and I made a TikTok account. I put this song out called American Dream, and I didn't post a video of me playing the song, but like when you release something to like the digital services, like they technically get released to TikTok also as like a sound, so people can like use the song in a video. Yeah. And so I just made a video. I was like visiting my mom and dad, and just like before I left, like pulled my phone out and just made like a really stupid video of me just like smiling at the camera for like 60 seconds. And then I found my song American Dream on TikTok and added it to the video, and then I just put words on the screen, and so it's just my face covered up with a bunch of words and blue sky behind me, and it was just like, hey, like I can't remember what it said exactly, but the song's playing, and it's basically like, if you're working 60 hours a week at like a respectable job, and you've been there a long time and you've been grinding it out, and like you can't seem to get ahead, if you're there, like that's what I'm doing right now. And I wrote a song about it. It's called American Dream, and the catch line in that song is like, it's a bullshit American Dream. And that was it. Like, that was all the video was. And dude, the video, I don't remember how many views it got, but it got like, I want to say like a couple million views, and people immediately just like went to Spotify and like found my music. I went from 43 listeners to like 150,000 in like
Holy
2 weeks
shit.
or something
That's
like that.
Wild.
Yeah, it's like big wild.
Yeah.
But that doesn't like mean money, right? So like, especially not with streaming. So like, streaming is not there's not a huge profit margin there.
Yeah,
so like, when you're talking like millions of numbers here, then like when the numbers are in the millions, then you are having a conversation with like, real money. Like, that's money that you can talk about. When you're talking about like 1,000 streams, dude, that's not enough to even buy like a fucking piece of bubble gum. It's like, so I don't even know what this means. I know that there's 150,000 people listening, and the song's been streamed like 500,000 times, but I don't know what that means. Money, can I quit my job now? Like, what does that mean? But I do know that I have people's attention, and I do know I'm broke as fuck, and I don't have the money to go make a record. So I bought like a really shitty, cheap microphone, and I recorded 14 songs in my apartment. So I put American Dream out in November. Everything kind of blew up, and then I recognized like an opportunity in a moment. So in December, the very next month, I recorded 14 songs, called it an album, and then made a cover art, sent it to distribution to be put on all the DSPs, and then it released in January. And when that album came out, I did the same thing with one of the other songs on the album called Pitch and Fits. It's just a video of me. I was sitting in a car, and it's just like front-facing camera, me looking stupid, looking at the camera, a bunch of words on the screen. And I'm like, hey, like, if, like, I wrote a song about like mental health struggles, and like if anyone, feels like they're going through the same shit. Like, I wrote this song for us. Check it out. If you don't mind, go find it. You know, tell me if you like it. Blah blah blah. Like, I don't have anything going on right now. No one knows who the fuck I am at all.
Yeah.
And that video did like triple the numbers that the American Dream video did. So then I was still clocking in like at work. At this point I was at Mercedes-Benz on the assembly line, which you're like not allowed to have phones at all. And they'll literally fire you if they see like an imprint of a phone in your pocket.
Oh wow.
Because they have like people from like competitors like all the time coming into the plant and like figuring out, you know, getting ahead of the game kind of shit.
Yeah.
And so they have a very strict no cell phone policy. But I was finding myself like these videos are blowing up on TikTok. I mean, I could refresh, it'll show you like 99 plus notifications. I could click that, and by the time it refreshes, it just says 99 plus again. I mean, every 10 seconds was like 50 more comments.
Holy shit.
Like 2,000-3,000 more views, like every 10 seconds. It just like wasn't slowing down, it was barreling. And so, which was exciting, but I became like obsessed with paying attention to it. Like, I'd get home from work and just fucking stare at it.
Yeah.
Like,
which is kind of what you were trying to avoid in the first place.
Yeah,
it seems
exactly.
Like, right?
I was like, dude, I'm getting trapped. Like, this is happening. Like, the thing I don't want to happen is fucking happening.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
It's like bittersweet, but also like this is exactly why I didn't want to do this in the first place. So I literally, at this point too, like there's several 100,000 people listening to my music on Spotify monthly. I deleted the videos, just deleted them all. I was like, fuck this. Got off TikTok for a long time, and you know, that was kind of the thing. And then I started playing gigs, but people found me on TikTok. So like, I was playing Oversoul Brewing as a brewery in Helena, Alabama, which is close to where I live, and I'm now like pretty close friends with the owners and everyone that's involved at this brewery. But they were kind of the first venue locally that like took me in and gave me gigs, and like I would play like Thursdays, Fridays, sometimes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at this place like every week.
Yeah.
But they had created an environment that wasn't like your typical. It's not a sports bar. Like they don't have a football game on behind me while I'm playing for 4 hours. Like they were like telling people to shut up and listen while I'm playing for 4 hours, kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
so quickly became like home base for me back home, and I played gigs there all the time and became like best friends with the owners, and but I knew something was changing when like they have like a built-in local crowd, you know, of people that support their business, and we're always there. And then all of a sudden, like, people would start showing up there'd be like a couple that was like, this one guy I remember drove from Florida to meet his girlfriend who lived in Kentucky.
Whoa.
They were like, it was a military situation.
And
so they met at Oversoul one night to come see me because I was playing there, and they thought that it was like a concert, like a ticketed event, like at a venue. And it's not. It was just me in the corner for 4 hours. Like, anyone can walk up and hang out and say hey and, you know, hang out.
Yeah.
But I remember this group of like 7 dudes, like 7 like 20-something-year-old dudes from like Georgia, like messaged me on Instagram. I was like, hey, I saw you're playing at Oversoul Brewing this Friday. We were trying to find a ticket link. We were like, and information about the venue. But like, do you know if we show up, like, will we be able to buy tickets at the door, and will there be seating available? Like, what's the situation? Like, we'd love to see you live. And it was like every time I'd played Oversoul, like more and more and more people would be there. And there were nights during those days where like I would walk away from Oversoul with $1,200 in my tip jar, which is, you know, $400 more than I made a week at Mercedes.
Yeah. And
after that happening, you know, 2 or 3 times, I was like, okay, like, people are listening to my music. I'm getting $1,200 tip jars, plus, you know, like the $150 I'm getting paid to play the gig.
Yeah.
I'm still going to work. I'm still working at Mercedes. Like, we're doing all this shit after work and on the weekends, you know?
Yeah,
so it's like, I just realized that like I had an opportunity there. Like, dude, I'm literally at this point making more money off of my music than I am working for like one of the most famous like luxury automakers in the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of fucking world am I living in?
Yeah. It's
you know?
so exciting.
Yeah. And so but also have like a wife and kid, you know? So it's like,
mhm.
well, you know, Mercedes has a pretty good insurance package too.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so how much does insurance cost, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it costs a
fuck
lot.
ton.
It costs a shit ton. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but I ultimately, in those earlier days when I, you know, jumped out and did it, I didn't give a fuck anymore. I was just like, dude, look, you have to know, like, you have to learn, you have to teach yourself how to recognize an opportunity and fucking jump.
Yeah.
And no one else can do it for you. And if you're this passionate about it, and you know that you're going to do the work, you know that if you quit this job that's taking 60 hours or 50 or 40 hours from you every week, if you have a thing that you're passionate about, that you think you're good at, good enough that you could, you know, pursue it and fulfill yourself and turn it into a business where you can make money and make a living off of what you're creating, well, then fucking just do it. Because if you don't, it's never going to fucking happen and no one's going to do it for you. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. It's scary. It's not fucking easy, and it goes against everything you're taught.
Yeah.
But everyone that's ever made it doing something that they loved, like, they had to make that choice. They had to say, hey, there's an opportunity here. I just have to fucking do it. Man. And honestly, there was a Jason Isbell lyric that I remember, like, kind of repeating in my head, and it could mean something totally fucking different, but it's the beauty of songs. You can interpret shit the way that you want to. And sometimes we interpret shit the way that we know the answer already, but we need something that we can pretend as a sign to tell you that this is the right choice.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a line that Jason has that says, take a year and make a break. There ain't that much at stake. That just, like, rung in my head. And I vividly remember, like, having this conversation with my wife. I was like, she supported me and wanted me to do this, but also, like, reality is, like, we need health insurance. We have a kid.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's like, I really want you to be able to do this, but, like, also let's not, like, fuck up. And, like, you know, she had quit working after our daughter was born, our first daughter, and so, like, I'm the only income now. You know, and so, but I told her, I was like, look, here's the thing. I've got Class A CDLs from working on the railroad. I was like, Mercedes is great. It sucks. I hate the job. Good insurance, decent pay.
Yeah.
And I was like, but just give me 12 months. Let me just fucking quit and just give me 12 months to figure out insurance, figure out booking, management, and see if I can just take a fucking honest swing at this shit and see if I can make it happen. And she was like, all right, yeah, we can do that. We can take 12 months. So I took a year, and fucking it didn't even take a year, man. Like, before I had things happening around me that were undeniable things telling me that, like, I'd made the right choice.
Yeah.
I think within 3 weeks of quitting, dude, I found within 3 weeks of quitting, I'm talking to David Macias from 30 Tigers about putting my next record out, you know, just with 30 Tigers distributing it for me. And and then, like, a week after, you know, meeting David and talking on the phone with him, like, I'm talking to CAA, who's now, you know, my agency that books for me, and they're fucking great. And then through David Macias also, like, I met my manager Kyle. He's fucking amazing. He works for Range Media Partners as my management.
I deal with a lot of managers, dude. He was immediately responsive.
Yeah.
He was on top of his game.
Dude, I mean, I went from knowing no one to, like, having
he was
like
awesome.
this super team of people around me. And so, like, when I got CAA, like, you know, one of the agents there is, like, Willie Nelson's agent that's on my team. And, like, the first show offer was like, hey, you want to open for Willie Nelson 2 nights? I was like, you fucking kidding me? I just quit my job. Not knowing if this was the right move, and now, like somehow, like, Willie Nelson's agent is on my team.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't deny that.
Yeah.
You can't tell me I made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to do this, and I have friends in totally other realms of the world that have their own passions and that have jumped out and done their own shit, and it's a similar story. I think that if you have a passion and you know that this is what you're meant to do, and you just take the chance and bet on yourself, I think the universe will just show you that, like, you've done the right thing. There will be things that happen that just that validate.
Yeah.
Back to you need the validation. Well, it'll come. Like, if that's what you're supposed to be doing, like, you'll know undoubtedly that you made the right choice. You're supposed to be doing this. And so that's kind of what I've been living on now the past few years, is like, just like, hey, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's not always easy. I mean, great things happen, but, like, also, like, doesn't mean that it's an easy job. I mean, it's an easy job. I've had much harder fucking jobs if you're talking about physical labor. But if you're talking about, you know, breaking your 5-year-old daughter's heart because she hasn't seen her dad in a month, you know what I mean? Like, well, that's a hard fucking job. Yeah. So it's like, it's give and take. But I wouldn't want another position in the world. This is what I do, man. It's what I'm supposed to do.
This is the most inspiring monologue I've heard in a long time, man. Thank you for all of that.
Yeah,
that was
dude,
incredible.
thank you, man. No.
We usually end on, I want to let you get back to this amazing festival and all these people who want to see you and shake your hand and take pictures, including myself. I'd love to take a picture with you as well. Course. But we usually end on what we're getting down on. So the art that has you inspired at the moment. Like, what's got you fired up right now? Music, could be a show you're watching, a book you're reading.
I'll tell you, the most recent art that inspired me was, so I just got back from Europe. I was over in UK and Europe with 49 Winchester last. I guess I've been home a week now, but so for 2 weeks I was over there with those guys, and in Amsterdam we had a day off in Amsterdam, and Cole is 49 Winchester's guitar tech. Me and Cole like bought tickets to go to the Van Gogh Museum, and like, holy shit, dude! I love art, like, and I respect art and I appreciate it, and I've seen a lot of it, but like, I've truly like never been brought to tears over a painting before. And then we walked in to the museum, and it's fucking amazing. Like, there's all kinds of, you know, original Van Goghs. It's just like, it's an honor to even get to stand in front of it. But then the almond branch painting. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a painting that he painted for. He had a younger brother who kind of supported him financially so that he could go and be an artist. And so his younger brother did that for basically his whole life, like support. Van Gogh like never made money off his art when he was alive, but his little brother supported him, and his little brother's wife like believed in him too, and so they would send him like a monthly check basically that got him through life, paid his bills so that he could go be, you know, an artist. And so when his little brother wrote him a letter letting him know that he was going to become an uncle, he painted this painting for his brother's child as a gift. And like, dude, it was fucking, I don't know, man. I already knew the story behind the painting before I saw it, and then I'm standing in front of it, like, you know, I just started crying, like, to myself, but like, you know, there's a whole bunch of people around me, but I just stood in front of this painting, dude, with tears in my eyes, and I was like, dude, it's like, it's one of those moments where you just wish you were just absolutely rich as hell. So like, I just want this to be safe at my house with me. You know,
so you could just stand in front of it and cry.
So Van Gogh and his entire story and his art has been hugely inspiring to me recently.
Awesome, man. Drayton, this has been incredible. I'm so grateful. I listened to your record a million times, and I got to listen to it carefully on the way here too, which was like coming through the mountains, like listening to your record.
It's the best place to listen to music.
Oh my God!
Driving through here.
Windows rolled down. You know, coming through the Cumberland Gap, like just an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful for your time, dude.
Well, thank you so much, man. Really, thanks.
Awesome. Drayton Farley, y'all. Thank you so much, Drayton. Thank all of you for listening. DraytonFarley.com for all things Drayton. I scooped up a gold vinyl copy of 20 on High when I was at Laurel Cove. It's absolutely gorgeous. He is such an easy guy to root for in addition to being an incredible songwriter. Just as genuine as they come, as sweet as they come. So excited that we got the opportunity to talk with Drayton. Also, check out my Jason's Journal recap from Laurel Cove, which you can find at marinadepodcast.com or wherever you consume podcasts. Speaking of which, marinadepodcast.com for all things The Marinade, including written pieces, photography, and so much more. Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app, y'all. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support The Marinade. Go do that right now while you're listening, please. It makes a big difference for us. and costs so little of your time and energy. If you really like what we're doing and can swing it for just $2 a month, y'all, you can join our Patreon community. You get Patreon exclusive content, stuff like our show Jason's Journey, our show What We're Getting Down On. That's where my great friend Peter Haraldson and I talk about the art that has us fired up at the moment, similar to how I do with our guests each episode. Y'all, you can try a free trial of Patreon to see if you like it. No pressure. Try it for 7 days. Set a reminder on your phone in case you want to cancel, and keep going if you dig it. If you want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, I totally get that too. You can Venmo or PayPal us. It's just at the Marinade, and all the money goes right back into the making of the show. Y'all, I had the most incredible time on my Grounded Summer Tour. I got to go back to my roots in Kentucky, had a chance to cover a couple of music festivals, Laurel Cove, and then also Bonnaroo for the second year in a row. All that happens because of our Patreon patrons. And so if you can swing it, we really appreciate it. Every little bit makes a huge difference, y'all. But above all, I'm just so thankful that you listen and spread the word about the Marinade. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.